All right, guys, let's talk about it. I'm going to be walking you guys through studio portrait sessions using Flash and three key elements to getting that portrait that's going to pop, that portrait that's going to really stand out. We're going to be talking about three lighting components to your overall lighting setup. As you can see here, this is just the background information on all of the flashes that I'm using and the main components and the main ingredients to the bigger picture. I'm going to be breaking all of this down Barney style. I hope to keep it as simple as possible, and then that will enable you guys to do further research on flashes that you may be able to afford and kind of tailor your setup to however you see fit based off of this fundamental knowledge for today. So this video is not intended to be super in-depth by any means, but just a brief overview of key components to doing studio style sessions. So let's go ahead and break down this bigger picture. All right, your key light. Let's think of your key light as your main light source, right? So that big softbox aiming straight at my face, that's going to provide most of the exposure to my face, to your subject, right? So that's your key light. I'll go ahead and show you what these portraits are looking like with just the key light, with the key light and rim light, with the key light, rim light, and background light. So here's what the image looks like with just the key light. So you can take a look. Still a decent exposure. Not too much highlights, it just rolls right off of my face right there on the left hand side pretty well. It's lighting up my right hand side pretty good. It all depends on how you angle it, but that's your main light source. So just think key light, main light, and that's just going to provide most of the light to your subject. Now let's go ahead and talk about your rim light. Now the rim light, you can take a look at that. I just pulled up the rim light. Now that's the smaller flash right there in the corner that you can take a look at. Now what's cool about the rim light is that, yeah, you really don't need, it's not an absolute necessity, but the rim light kind of just makes your image pop a little bit more. The cool thing about the rim light, it fills in the dark little shades that your subject may or may not have under his or her chin, their cheekbone, just the side of their face that's not necessarily being exposed by the key light. It also gives some lighting to the shoulder, that opposite shoulder of the key light, and it just works to fill in some extra shadows. It's also a good hair light. You would also see people use the rim light as a lighting for the hair, just to get that glow pushing through the hair. Of course, I don't have any hair, so you won't see it glowing through mine. And I'll go ahead and show you what the rim light looks like in the image. So this is the key light and the rim light. Alright, so now you can see, I'll go back to the key light by itself, and then you can see the key light and the rim light together. So here's the key light by itself, and then here's the key light and the rim light together. So going back to the key light, you can kind of see how there's a slight shadow under my right cheekbone. And then with the key light and that rim light does a good job about filling in that extra piece of shadow right there on my cheekbone. So that's what the rim light is designed for. Alright, now let's move on to the background light. Now the background light's pretty cool. In my opinion, it adds like a three-dimensional almost feel to your portraits. I think that's very important with making yourself stand out as a photographer. It's also a taste. It's also a matter of taste. So if you just don't like what the background light can produce for your photos, then you kind of know what you want. But again, this is just a brief overview of what these three different lights in a portrait session can do. And you kind of take whatever you want out of this video and run with it. So let's go ahead and look at the background light. That light's just pointing straight towards the background, that backdrop, and what it's gonna do once it flashes, it's not gonna flash at me, but it's gonna bounce right off of that background and just create like a glow. And here's what that image should look like right now. So this image is the key light, the rim light, and the background light. So completely exposed from the front, from the side, and from the rear. And you can kind of see how that glow just hazes around my head. I think this makes for a pretty good headshot. And you can use this scenario in a lot of situations. Don't mind the harsh lines that you see. That's literally my backdrop, so that has nothing to do with the background light. So don't be nervous about seeing that at all. That's just my lazy excuse of a backdrop. But this is just a teaching tool anyway, so I think it's all good. So 3 key ingredients: key light, rim light, background light. Know them, know how to use them, and most importantly, know why. Know why they do the things that they do. I think that'll better help you plan for what you should have in your tool bag and what you should have readily available on location. You can find yourself in any type of lighting situations. I think it's very important as photographers to understand flash, understand off-camera flash. A lot of times we get into this whole bubble where it's like, oh, I'm just a natural light photographer. I was guilty of it myself. And that's cool. It'll give you, being a natural light photographer, if you will, it's cool. It'll give you, a great sense of fundamentals and just utilizing what you have. But being able to control some artificial light and balance that with ambient light, I think that's very important. Once you start diving into more frequent bookings, on location in the studio, you have to know how to apply these artificial lighting functions and tips and stuff like that to your bag of tricks. Overall, it'll make you more versatile. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me some feedback, comment, subscribe, like, share, and we'll see you guys on the next Q-tip. Deuces.